This episode of History Saver is brought to you by Addressing Gettysburg. Addressing Gettysburg is a podcast that shares great experiences, quality programs, awesome guests, and is a welcoming community for all who love Gettysburg. So join in with host Matt Callery and find out why Addressing Gettysburg is one of the top-rated podcasts online today. You can find them on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Castbox, Podbean, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, and on Instagram, Facebook, and of course, right here on YouTube. So check out Addressing Gettysburg today, where history is not boring. Thank you to Addressing Gettysburg for sponsoring this video.
You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
All right, so we have moved in Savannah to the Savannah History Museum right here at the Spring Hill Redoubt location in Savannah. And we're going to take you through, we're going to explore some of the history of Savannah. You know, Savannah is known for things like Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. They're known for the paranormal stuff. They're known for the beaches and the riverfront. But often, the American Revolutionary War history of Savannah is forgotten about. So we're going to go in here, we're going to explore some of it, and we may even catch up with Forrest Gump while we're in here. Who knows? But we got something very cool right off the bat to check out associated with the siege of 1779 here in Savannah. So let's check it out and let's explore this museum together. So in recent times, there's been expansions on the riverfront property here in Savannah, Georgia. And as things are being built, as things are being expanded, as modernization is taking place, artifacts from 1779 in the American Revolutionary War period in a British occupation of Savannah is still coming to light. Things like 19 cannons that was pulled out of the river here in Savannah during the river expansion. And these are some of the cannons on display here at the Savannah History Museum. And this is cannon RC-01. It was 40.5 inches short when the gun was completely clear when recovered. And you can see kind of what water does to the cannon, and you can look down below it, it's continuing to deteriorate. Also, things like cannonballs are steadily being found, and bar shot fragments, which was a type of shot, when it's sent out, it would spin, and it was designed that way to create more damage to vessels. And then here's another cannon here. I mean, this cannon actually had cannonballs in it when they found it. So pretty cool to check that out as you walk in. When Savannah was founded in the early 1700s, the Native Americans, Cherokees, Creeks were in this area when Oglethorpe come here. And he became they befriended a guy called Tamachichu, if I'm even saying his name right. And then you've got a lot of cool information here on the town plan of Savannah and the planning of the town as Oglethorpe come in and first founded Savannah. You've got examples of homes from 1750 to 1785 displayed here. And there wasn't much to these things. I mean, you know, just 2 rooms, really. A lot of these homes, and very simple. A lot of them were dog trot style houses, which meant doors straight in, straight out the back. They open those up during the summer to allow breezes in. But what you do have here is a lot of examples of some artifacts that's come out of here during the British occupation and early part of the history of Savannah. And the colonial period, you have pennies, you've got utensils, you've got glassware, you've got chinaware, you've got marbles, clay pipes, and those were all things associated with the early history of Savannah. One of the things people most associate Savannah with in modern times is what you see behind me. This is Forrest Gump, or a picture of Forrest Gump. His suitcase is right there though. And this is one of the original benches used for the movie Forrest Gump. So is this the Forrest Gump bench that he actually sat on during the film? I don't know. There were a couple of these. Savannah has one of the only ones. There's, I think, one or two more. But yeah, pretty cool. This is Savannah and the American Revolution. This is what we're examining while we're here in Savannah during these few episodes. And this is telling you everything about the December 1778, when the British come in and take back Savannah. They rip the stripe and the star off of the colonial flag, and they regain Georgia, and they regain the city of Savannah. And this is talking about that. Then the 1779, as the Americans and French become allies and attack Savannah again, but Savannah ultimately is held by the British again. But this is talking about the events leading up to that, the Revolutionary War timeline, Savannah and beyond, from 1765 all the way to 1790, when the Congress ratified and approved the Bill of Rights. So pretty cool. Then you have more information here on those sieges. 2 arms, Savannah, October 1779, and then you've got the British forces taking Savannah in December of 1778, the British invasion. And then the sieges, the actual Battle of Savannah with the French and the American colonial forces allying together. And you've got several artifacts. My favorite thing in museums from this time frame: a stiletto, a 6-pounder solid shot, an 18-pound solid shot, which also fired chain shot. Then you got some information on a naval bombardment. And then you've got some silverware. And then you've got some actual relics from Madame Anne Prevost, who was the wife of the British commander in control of Savannah. So there's a copy of her letter here, of one of her letters. I had scarcely finished writing before I heard a frightful noise. It is the fall of a bomb which has shaken the weak edifice in which we are, crushing a neighboring house, and set on fire the cask of spiritual liquors. I was not recovered from this impression before they came to tell me I must quit my asylum in the neighborhood of a house on fire. Dragged by the captain who took my son in his arms, I took my daughter in mine. I went out of the cellar and she was trembling, traversed part of the town. We escaped at last the danger of the fire, but our flight exposed us to that of the cannon's bombs. And she's talking about Savannah getting bombed. And Savannah's population not only consisted of British soldiers, but of civilians. And the civilians included some of the wives of the British officers. And also the civilians included a large percentage of both African and white women and children. Several of these people left accounts of their experiences, such as Anne Prevost, and someone else wrote here, they shook the ground and many of them burst with a great explosion. And this was Chief Justice Anthony Stokes describing as what it was like as the bombs hit the ground here in Savannah. I found this very interesting. This is called the Cannonball House. It was located off of St. James Square, which is now known as Telfair Square, during the bombardment of Savannah. And there were only 6 town wards at the time of the Battle of Savannah in 1778 and 79, and each contained a central square. Every square had 4 groupings of 10 house lots. Well, this is a cannonball hole made during the bombardment here, and this was known as the Cannonball House. Well, that is right here. Pretty cool. Now behind me you can see several uniforms representing some of the troops and men that fought here during the battles of Savannah, Georgia during the American Revolution. So let's take a look around this area and explore a little bit more of the history of the American Revolution here in Savannah. So the French allied with the Continental forces during the time of October 1779 rather. And you had the French Navy coming into Savannah. And this is an example of one of their uniforms of the light infantry. that would have assaulted the Spring Hill Redoubt in the same location we're in right now, actually inside of this museum, was the battlefield. Up under this museum was the battlefield. So we're actually standing right smack dab in the middle of the battlefield right now. And then we have some of the 71st Regiment of Scots Highlanders. There were a lot of Germans here, a lot of Scottish fighting for the crown. And the 71st Regiment of the Scottish Highlanders was one of the most famous regiments here. They were already battle tested in the northern parts of the war, and they put up a really stiff resistance and fight here in Savannah. And this is an example of one of their uniforms, and then the iconic Highlander hat here. This is a British regiment of the Von Trumbach Regiment, and I probably just butchered that. But these were the Germans here fighting for the crown during the siege of Savannah. And this is an example of what one of their uniforms looked like. Of course, it can be mistaken for a Continental uniform. I just did it. I mean, so these uniforms during this time frame were of all kinds of different origins. There were a lot more people involved with this war and a lot more military regiments and brigades and organizations than what you think of. Then we go right here to the iconic Royal Marine uniform of the British troops, the British Army. This is a uniform you think probably most often think about this type of uniform, the red coats of the British Army. This is a Royal Marines uniform that would have been here in this area during the 1778 and 1779 siege of Savannah. Then you have the colonial forces here, the militia, the artillery, the light infantry, and the colonial regular troops. So this is more often what you're going to think about when you think about the 1778 battle here in Savannah, the 1779 battle here in Savannah. These are the uniforms of the Patriots, the Patriot militia, and the regular Continental Army here in Savannah that is trying to attack, to take back Georgia for the Continental forces after the British stripped away that stripe and that star. So we've got a lot to see here in Savannah. We've got to get also to Charleston, South Carolina, and explore some more of the American Revolutionary War history. So we're not going to show you this whole museum. This is a place you've got to come see for yourself and see things. Of course, I know you guys want to see the Forrest Gump bench, but if you're here visiting Savannah, there's more to Savannah than Forrest Gump. There's more to Savannah than Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. There's also some of the most important history in the making of our country. The Battle of Savannah was one of the most important battles during the entire American Revolution, and it's lost in history books to history. If it wasn't for the Battle of Savannah, the war may have had another outcome. So even though it was an American loss, it helped shape the future of the American Revolution. So anyway, we're going to continue on in this series. We're going to get out of here. We'll see you on the next one. Check out the History Underground Project, past vlogging through history for Gettysburg, addressing Gettysburg. Of course, our awesome sponsors. And make sure you go check out That Awesome Podcast. They got some awesome content. One of the highest rated podcasts today. So make sure you go check them out online and keep them up there as one of the highest ranked podcasts out there in the history community. So until next time, keep preserving history. Stay safe. We'll catch you in the next place.